Call this meeting to order. And you got a recording?
It's recording.
Okay. So let us all, there's a quorum I see. So let us stand for the pledge of allegiance. You hold it for us, Jane. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So the first thing I'd like to do is welcome our new board member,
Thank you.
Casey.
Welcome.
Great to have you with us. And when were you sworn in?
Oh, Friday afternoon. As soon as you got me.
Great. And I have a motion to accept the agenda. Any additions or changes to the agenda? I would like to request change to add the approval of the quarter finance budget. Discussion and approval under new business, please. If somebody would make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. All right. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of December 21st?
My name is spelled incorrectly.
Okay,
With a C instead of a K.
okay.
Other than that, though I wasn't here, they look great.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Who seconded? Karen, thank you. All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Correspondence, I don't think we have any, Bonnie. Okay. You all did get the notice of the combined second quarter finance board meeting, so thank you for that. Well, great. I have to set that up. So then we're on to reports from the tax collector. Who we have in person tonight?
I hope you just got a little snapshot about percentage of collections and things. Good, thank you. One of the main reasons I wanted to come tonight is that I'm in the very early stages of starting the tax sale process. And since you're the closest thing I have to a board, I need you to tell you. My criteria, and every tax collector sets his or her own criteria. My criteria is everyone can be 1 year behind in their taxes. That happens, whatever happens. When you go beyond that and you are eligible for a sale, I was a little slack last year and the year before because of COVID. I thought I'm not pushing during COVID. That's not gonna happen. So as I said, I have started sending out letters, haven't gotten any place yet, but I wanted you to be aware. Because some of these houses are owner occupied, so just so you know that. And that's pretty much all I have to report.
Steph, how many,
We're talking about a handful.
okay.
We're not talking about a huge number. And this is just preliminary. Hopefully we won't pay any for it. It will be paid, I hope.
Are there many parcels of land?
There is one parcel of land, and actually that owner I have not heard from that owner in 3 years. And I send bills out every month. So I have a stack of bills that have been returned. I Googled the person, he's quite prominent, but he's not paying his taxes, so that might be one that goes for sale. But
My question was, so people do get notification, they can make arrangements with you, there are ways of.
what can happen, because of their criteria, at this point, it's early stages. So if they are just 1 year behind and they just pay that 1 year, you're off my list
Okay.
until next year. Once it reaches a certain point, and I do turn this over to an attorney for the final sale. I have done one sale in my life, I did it all by myself, the town still owns the land, and I'm not doing another one. So,
And is there, if you go down that path, are there other steps? I mean, so you're talking about retaining a lawyer in this case, so
oh, definitely,
but I assume it's not as simple as we just decided we're gonna.
oh, no, it's,
Right, I mean, there's a lot of things that happen before that actually happens, right?
there is, I make it a long preliminary stage.
Sure.
Once the initial letter goes out from their attorney, it goes really fast. And it's just this phases unit and it's done. That's it.
So people are made aware of the process.
Slowly they're being made aware. This is a long process. I just didn't want these little rumors to get out there. I'm making a clean statement to everyone.
So if you get to the point where there is a sale, like the attorney's going to do, does he do that with a real estate broker or?
No, a tax sale is run by a tax collector or his or her authority.
And then is there notice to the community of the?
Oh, it's run by state statute, pages of things.
A completely different question is somebody brand new. Are the percentages of collection on here some in the ballpark for what it usually is? Just
Yes. We, here in Kent, it's a very unusual, I don't know if it's unusual, but in the past few years, most of the money, a good percentage of the money comes in July. People don't want to be bothered to make 2 payments. So January is a very pleasant month. I spend a lot of time coming, people come and pay their car bills.
Right.
It's very nice.
And the third category of being regular is what's the?
Those are the bills. Usually car bills are only due once a year in July. Because in our assessment date has been for years October 1st. Well, a lot of people who are kind of savvy on these things were buying their cars October 3rd. So then they wouldn't have to pay the tax for a couple of years. They missed the October 1st deadline and it would just go on for years. And the state said, no, that's not gonna work. So that's why we have supplemental bills. They're called cleanup bills.
Yeah, so MV is motor vehicle.
So thank you.
Next up, any other questions?
One other, since you had this great, this pop last year, right, in the grand list of cars, is what's happened from last year to this year? Has it kind of stayed at that level, or because I know the used car market, all I do is used car market.
Well, and actually this year, the motor vehicle bills are worth 93,726, and I don't think we put that much in budget last year.
70.
Yeah, so
Gotcha.
we're already 23,000 ahead.
Okay.
Well, that's assuming it's well.
That's like 100%.
Sure.
Okay, let's move on to the Board of Ed.
Well, as we just already said, we scheduled the special DOE meeting with the Board of Finance for January 31st at 6 p.m. in the KCS library. I'm still working out how the agenda has to read, but I think we can just leave it as, I'm hoping to just leave it as one agenda item, maybe general discussion. But I have to make sure that it complies with FOIA. But I'm hoping that, it's just an opportunity to have kind of an open, free-ranging conversation with no real, set agenda. There's a couple things that we'd like to talk about. There's probably a couple things we'd like to talk about. And then maybe a public comment at the end, just in case, somebody shows up wants to comment up there. The only other thing I have is last month I talked to you about being underfunded in the capital plan for our next roof replacement. I told you I was gonna talk with people at the school. I haven't had a chance yet to get a facilities meeting together, which I think has to be the official mechanism to request to move that money from the sidewalks line. But I have talked with Michelle, our principal, and I've talked with, or she's talked with Bill, her facilities manager. Both of them are in favor of the idea, or at least in favor of bringing it to the facilities committee to discuss. So I'm going to try to get that scheduled in February. Hopefully in time for your February meeting, but if not, after your March meeting. I think we have plenty of time. If they accept my idea, I think we have over a year. If they don't, I think we have until May to make our work. May would be a deadline to the May town meeting. I think we have to pass the town.
Would have to be before that because of the documents that need.
Yeah, we have to get it.
Lead time is needed.
Well, it depends, because you need to have the funding in place before you go to the state for the,
So this would be a project that would start next summer. So I don't think we would need the funding there until like January, a year from now.
my theory is if you just May, you can do it.
Okay. I think we'll have it.
I'm using capital cell phone.
Right.
So,
I don't want to assume, but I think we'll be able to request and it'll be able to be, issue, but if not, well, I'll try to have a meeting in February and give you final notice.
So you're expecting reimbursement from the state?
There is some reimbursement. We need to have the full amount appropriated before we get reimbursement for the state.
Right.
I'm talking about asking the facilities committee to allow us to request the Board of Finance to transfer the money we have in the sidewalk down. I think that'll be okay, but I have to, and in that case, I don't think it's, we have plenty of time. I don't think it's a big deal. I think it's just a vote on the Board of Finance, but.
Right, but it's more, there's a timeline to be followed to the state, and they only put approved projects in, I think, every June. So.
Okay, I'll get with Sam Eric and find that state. Either way, I think we'll be done by June. I was going to go outside. I just haven't had a facility meeting.
The process beforehand, it
Yeah.
doesn't move fast up there.
Yeah. I know, it does. So hopefully by your next meeting, I'll have the definitive answer for you. If not, by the March meeting.
Anything else for us tonight?
No, that's it.
Okay. Board of Selectmen.
Hey, everybody. We're, heading on the freight train of budget season. One of the major, drivers or changes that's gonna be coming up that I, want you all to be aware of is the Medic 4 contract. So for the last 25 years, our paramedic that we use, that the town pays for, we're part of a 7-town cooperative agreement, if you will. And that contract has been a very well-priced contract for ALS care. So what happens is the fire department goes on ambulance call, if a paramedic is needed, that the ambulance actually intercepts with a non-transport vehicle called a paramedic fly car. With a paramedic with all of their full equipment, they get on our ambulance and then they run the patient into the call. So we basically turn that ambulance into an ALS ambulance. And that obviously that care is very important. That contract in the last budget, in the current budget season, the total was $490,000. And that had gone up.
A lot.
Yeah, so previous years it was low 300,000s. This last year, it went up significantly for a number of reasons. The industry is finally coming through with proper wages. There's an incredible nationwide shortage of all EMS workers, paramedics, EMTs, everything. And there's more to the job. So in the current year, we're at 490,000 for the whole contract. Our contribution for the contract is based on 3 metrics, which is the DPH population, the number of calls from the paramedic, and then the number of times or the percentage that they ride in on a call. They can come and arrive on the call, downgrade that call back to the BLS provider. And so that would not be a ride-in. So it's based on good solid metrics that are, 25 years in the making. So that
Those going to be changing the metrics?
every year, it depends on
Changes,
what's
okay.
going on in your
And the formula is one which all the surrounding towns who use this system basically have all agreed to, is that correct?
Yes.
Don't we have some towns that are breaking away?
Well, so that's the next part of the story. Trinity, who is the Trinity EMS, who is the current provider, they told us in the last several months that they would not be interested in negotiating a new contract with us going forward. So that left us to scramble to find a new provider.
Did they give a reason as to why?
Not really. It was just not a financially feasible effort for them. So Kent is in a hinky spot, and our entire, these 7 towns are in sort of a strange area. This part of the state is very off the beaten path for commercial providers. So if you were to take an AMR, right, AMR is the largest commercial ambulance provider in the country. It doesn't make financial sense for them to come and to write a contract for these 7 towns for what would amount to 549 calls was, I believe, last year. The call volume is very low, so it doesn't,
Towns.
yeah.
Yeah, there's, the geography is just.
Right.
It's, yeah.
Right, so they would, and they have to commit a vehicle to being here all the time. Not only is the geography, just getting here, so for instance, an AMR vehicle would be coming likely out of Waterbury. So they have to pull a car from Waterbury, have that asset be in this area for the entire, it's completely taken out of any response over in the Waterbury area, which is where they have all their nursing home contracts and all the contracts that are going to make them their bread and butter money. So that would have to be here. It would have to be what's called either posted or, parked at the firehouse, or posted sitting in, I don't know, the town hall parking lot or what have you.
So if they're not interested, what are our options, James?
So we don't have a lot of options. So the other provider that's in the area is they're called Western Connecticut Health Network Affiliates.
Sounds like us.
So they're part of the New Vance health system.
Right.
And they run, they have flight cars, they do Danbury Fire Department, so they run the EMS service for the city of Danbury, and they also have med contracts with a few other towns. They also do interfacility transfers like any, most paramedic companies do. So we're in negotiations with them. It looks like that contract is going to be about a little over 600,000.
So this is all 7 towns?
So the other piece of the puzzle is that New Milford is stepping out of the contract.
And what's the other going to do?
They upgraded a number of years ago to a paramedic level service. So they're already providing that service within their town. Their call volume is enormous. They're, let's see, I took them out of this stuff. It's like 3,000.
So it's basically.
Yeah, their call volume is something like 2,000 or 3,000. Shoot, it's massive.
So this is 6 towns of region 1, basically, that we're talking about.
No, 6 towns is Kent, Sherman, Warren,
Washington, Roxbury,
Interesting.
Bridgewater.
yeah, so Bridgewater, Kent, Roxbury, Sherman, Warren, Washington. So it's really the 6 towns that surround New Milford.
Oh, wow. So what about the contiguous towns, like It was Sharon did.
So
Cornwall, et cetera.
Yeah.
as we like to say in EMS, when you see one EMS system, you see one EMS system. So to complicate things, once you start to go north, you head into Hartford Hospital, Hartford Healthcare land. So the paramedics are going to be coming from the Hartford Healthcare system. So they're using a different paramedic altogether. Some towns, they have varying types of contracts with paramedic providers. So it's a very, very complex, complicated landscape. And when the 7 towns were all meeting, this has been a model that is replicated all over the state. And it's replicated because it's a really good working model. And the provider that was prior to Trinity Canyon Ambulance, they were a small local Waterbury, Torrington commercial provider. The people who ran the company was a family business. They were very much about getting the ALS care at whatever the cost was. So the deal that we had for 20 some odd years was really a sweetheart deal.
And what happened to Campion?
They went out of business. They sold their business to Trinity. But this is all sort of intersecting all at the same time with wages and the post-pandemic. People are less likely to want to become an EMT and a paramedic and, basically be in the back of an ambulance.
So we don't have much bargaining power.
We have pretty much no bargaining power.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to let you all know what that contract is going to look like. So,
But did you, go ahead.
Is there ever, not that the towns are that much bigger, but is it not legal to join New York towns with Connecticut towns?
So it's highly regulated, the whole industry is highly regulated, and the regulations in Connecticut are very different from what they are in New York State. And when you go over the New York State line, it's very tough getting EMS across the state line in these border towns because they're very small, very rural towns. A lot of them are contracting with a commercial provider for all of their EMS because they just don't have the volunteers anymore. So they're completely going out of business. And when in New York State, there's more posting that goes on where you'll have an ambulance that is a commercial provider that covers the entire town, and they'll sit in, like, anytime you go down 22, you'll see them sitting in the CVS parking lot, you'll see them sitting in the all the different, strip malls in those parking lots. So they're basically sitting there in the ambulance all day waiting for a call to come in.
What does ALS stand for?
Advanced level service. It's a advanced level of care. They have different equipment. They carry medications, narcotics, and they have advanced skills.
And you said from a financial standpoint, one of the issues was that the companies don't want to have to dedicate an ambulance up to the 7 towns, right? I mean, I guess have we looked at, like, is there any thought about should the 7 towns be investing in, make a capital investment in the actual ambulance so that the contracting to get just the paramedics as opposed to the ambulance and the paramedics?
Well,
Would that be helpful at all? I mean,
Well, so this is basically, we're contracting just for the person and not the asset, because once you start adding the asset,
right.
the other side of that is the rest of the country.
Sure.
When you come out of New England is run on county system for lots of things, including healthcare. And many other places, most other places, they're running county EMS systems, county fire, county public health, county everything. Because we're where we are, the counties, that's just sort of a traditional boundary that exists in Connecticut, but we don't use it for anything. But there is a lot of talk about regionalizing, and what we are doing with the Medic 4 program is exactly that, because we couldn't afford, with our, how many calls did we have last year? 450. So if you figure 5% of anybody's average of your call volume is ALS.
Right.
There's no, it would be insane for us to become a paramedic level service because it's all about skill retention, because that's how you give good care. And 5%, so you're talking 20 ALS calls on a total call volume of 400, it would, and the cost to do it with drugs and everything is exorbitant. So it's really tough.
And this 600 is separate from the other EMT service that
Yes.
we're.
Yes.
So that's like a total over almost $1 million or over $1 million.
Look at 600.
600 is our.
Yeah, I'm sorry, the 600 is not our.
No, that's total.
No, our,
I was gonna say,
I'm sorry.
Our share is probably more like 80 to 100.
Yeah, it's actually more than that because our volume is, I think, the third highest. in the region.
So it's Kent, Sherman, Warren, Washington, Roxbury, and
Bridgewater.
Bridgewater. Thank you.
And at the COG level, is there an active discussion on how far along is the regionalization process?
It's not,
Okay.
because again, you have the boundaries of the COG
Right.
go far north, and you know this. So we're sort of at the very bottom, geographically of the 21 town COG. Any of those towns are, Hartford Healthcare. And, you know, they're going to Charlotte, they're going to, even into Hartford. So they're picking up a medic from a different, area from that northern, like Winstead almost. And, there's a lot of tradition in local EMS. I was talking about this back when I was the service chief 17 years ago.
You've been talking about it for years.
And it's the way to go, but it's getting having a large group of people come.
Get the critical mass, yeah.
Yeah, and how, somebody's got to give up the white hats, and, there's got to be a lot of cooperation, and that can be
Independent.
Yeah.
In a state like Connecticut where you do have this dynamic, do we have at the state level, anyone advocating for the region in terms of should there be some support coming from Hartford for this? Because this is a peculiarity. I know, but
Yes.
you don't get.
Yeah, so previous to this, I don't know if you know, I work for that
Yes, right.
office, and they're acutely aware for years and years. They have a regionalization committee, that's a subcommittee of this state EMS advisory board.
Mhm.
So everybody's aware, it's really changed, it would be a big change for a lot of organizations. They've done it successfully a little bit out in the northeastern part of the state. Every week I see on the news, who was it last week, Pomfret, or I think, oh no, it was Woodstock, they're going to be closing. They cannot provide service anymore because they just can't afford to do it. So obviously our town doesn't want to get to that point, and I think the relationship with the fire department is a good working relationship that I think it's better than it's been in a long time. So they're keeping us, apprised. Obviously, you all know what's going on, but there's going to be more change in the next 5 years, a lot more change, and there's going to be big decisions that are going to have to be made.
And investments.
Yeah, big investments.
Just to clarify, COG is Council of Governments.
Yes, sorry.
So there's the Northwest COG of the 21 towns that she's referring to, so you can use all the acronyms.
Yeah.
It takes a little while.
It's sort of the Connecticut version of county government.
Yeah, sort of, but it doesn't really match the county law.
No, it doesn't at all,
Yeah.
but they were recently recognized by the federal government. So the COGS can actually apply for federal.
Oh, what other heck they use, yeah?
I know, right? What else comes after that? Just go back to my.
I still would love to see our state rep kind of have this on a list, because, much in the way that we deal with education, healthcare is as critical as education is, and the thinking behind that in a state that is so geographically disparate as we are, is there should be a base level that maybe we should be thinking legislatively about how to get the state to kind of economically do more.
Yeah, I have a legislative breakfast actually tomorrow morning. Right?
So that should be on her list.
And it always is. I asked Maria Horn, she's like, oh, she wants to talk about EMS again.
But literally, I mean, there needs, it's not just her, this ought to be, frankly, somebody ought to be thinking about a bill, you know, frankly, for the legislature. This is a phenomenon around the state unless you're in the big cities.
The big-
And, right?
Yeah, the big thing is with these small towns,
Right.
I have found in education land. Yeah, you know, you get something going, but it's a small town
Right.
and you can't get enough of the legislature
Right.
to buy into it,
Right.
to get it to come to pass, and you're going down for the third time, and,
Exactly.
you know, they're not stepping up,
And there's a
so.
strong lobbying effort by the commercial providers.
Well, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Very
That's-
influential.
You said Trinity, and that's part of, you got this consolidation of these damn healthcare companies sucking up the little hospitals.
And Hartford too is going like crazy.
Yeah, and I mean, we saw this coming back in 09, 2010, where it was going to all flesh out to massive hospital systems. You have your Young Haven, you have your Hartford Healthcare, and we thought it was gonna be 4, but it really, you know, it may not be, maybe Harvard Healthcare, Yale, and New Vance, or maybe 2.
Right, because Trinity took over at St. Mary's and Waterbury, that's not the
Question, so doesn't New Vance go into New York State?
Yeah, they own the
So
hospitals.
that doesn't help us at all in this situation?
So we're negotiating this contract now.
And the other thing is, since New Milford has built this thing to accommodate their volume, being this loyal to the rest of the group that we're in, is there any logic to kind of clicking onto the New Milford system?
We asked,
Oh.
yeah, we asked a number of times. We had a number of meetings all together,
Right.
the 7 towns, and they are not interested in taking on the additional volume.
Okay, that's too bad. Thank you.
Any updates on the Statico?
Nothing, they had they asked for and received an extension from BIA on responding to our comments that we sent. Nothing. Yeah, it could be, you know, another year or 2, could be 5 months, 10 months, a little bit of a unknown at this point.
And this is the STN. Okay. Well, I have to ask, any update on cell tower?
It's up and it's working. I was on Treasure Hill the other day and they had fantastic cell service.
AT&T?
AT&T, as long as you,
Yeah, it's only-
I haven't heard anything on the Verizon. And then phase 2, streetscape, Rick and I had a Microsoft Teams with the designer, the engineer. And we're gonna look probably in February to have a like a neighbors forum with the Wayne Street homeowners. Because that is gonna be obviously a big change. They're gonna go from where they now, you know, many people now park will become sidewalk. So we want to just walk through what that will, what the expectation is, so that they have, you know, an expectation of how that street will change, because that's gonna be the biggest one. And then we'll likely have one on Maple Street and Maple Street Extension, but we're gonna start with Lake because that's really, it's gonna be the biggest, sort of shift in how that lays out. It's gonna be great because there's gonna be a continuous sidewalk, the whole thing. So we're scheduling that, I think, for
The meeting.
yeah, just a forum with the.
When do you think this the work will start?
We probably not until 24.
Oh, okay.
It's state funded. so.
Yeah.
And federal funded, and we have to go for DOT approvals, so that's gonna,
Yeah.
But we have so in this funding, we have this, I keep wanting to call him a concierge, but he's not a concierge, he's a consultant, but they work directly with the DOT, so they are that connector for us to the DOT instead of, yeah, instead of having to figure out who you need to call for this one particular thing, he's fully working with them. And so it's made our sort of walking through these early parts much easier. So that's been a great process.
So move things along.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else, Bruce?
So I just wanted to mention that we had a COG meeting last week. They have a lot of new staff. They've had a lot of turnover. But I think they've brought on a really good team of folks, and they have started to identify what each person's sort of subject matter is going to be. They have a woman who was with the DOT for like 27 years, and she knows the ins and outs of the DOT, just can really navigate that. And so I think that's going to be really valuable to Rick and for road stuff, and she does a lot of grant writing. So I'm very positive and enthusiastic about what the COG is going to be able to assist us with in the next, in the coming years. I'm looking forward to it was a great staff before, but I think they're headed in a good direction.
And speaking of which, last meeting, you kind of mentioned this idea, of, a part-time or collaborative grant person shared with a couple of towns, maybe to help unearth some of the other pools of government revenue that might be out there for us. Have you kind of moved anywhere on that yet?
Just in the sort of talking phases with Warren and Washington, sort of focusing on them because we need.
Sure.
I'll see them for
Madam Treasurer?
So I already handed out a report that came from the Board of Health. That was Rita's report that she sent for everybody. And I also provided you the updated draft that I have for this policy. And I also updated it so that it coalesces now with the state statute. And then this is my regular report. On the back side is the building inspector information, and the front side is the activity from my office. Here it is. And then on the bottom is some notes of activity from my office.
Anything in particular you want to highlight?
The information that Debbie provided on her report and the information that I'm providing on my report regarding her collections is just a little bit different because I'm reporting what she's given to me and she's reporting what she actually still has.
Mm-hmm.
So she hasn't given me,
Hopefully that's more than she has.
but there's always a little bit of difference. So I wanted to point that out.
Okay.
Everything is pretty much on track. The two notes on the very bottom regarding the town hall repairs in the Swift House, those were on my report last month, but I left them on just to keep them sort of in the forefront of everybody's mind. Those will be budget transfers at the end of this fiscal year.
Yep.
All the budget packets have gone out. I'm starting to receive some budget requests back. So my plan is to have a full proposed budget document by the end of business this Friday to submit to the Board of Selectmen for consideration and discussion and the work that they need to do. I mean, audit, I know you have that on your agenda, but there's not much to report yet. We are on extension. I have everything to the auditor that they've requested of me, so it's just,
And this is a new one.
yes, it's just a little bit of a timing thing now, and hopefully we'll get it wrapped up shortly.
You get it in before the end of the month?
We have to, the extension is only to January 3rd, that's why.
Is he going to make a physical appearance? I've never met him. I think I would like to meet him before he audits my books.
Well, actually, the person that's assigned to our account is Dan, who you did meet. He used to work for.
Oh, I know Dan, but Dan is
He is working for George when he is assigned to us.
In all of my emails, Dan, he always says, I will refer to George. So I did not realize he was taking control of that.
Well, they're doing it in conjunction, but he's the point person for.
I will email him tomorrow.
And one other question, just for permit, the building permits. How do they look versus last year?
It's on the bottom of the report right here, where it says last year, year-to-date variance. They're actually up, but I think that might be due to this, the mild weather that we've had so far this winter, and people continue to go, so we'll see as it moves into spring and summer, if that changes or stays high. But right now, it's significantly higher than it was last year at this time.
Thank you, Barbara. So, new business, will review the budget schedule that we got. Are there any changes to it?
I'm sorry,
Any changes to the budget schedule that you gave us?
not to my knowledge, no.
And the meetings on the schedule do coincide with our regular meeting schedule, so we're in good shape there. So I have the Board of Finance budget submission that I handed out to you all. I did not. You didn't get that one? No. There's plenty of them around here. Here it is.
Yeah, that's it.
Yes, it's on that.
Oh, you mean the dates?
Yeah, the dates.
Oh, the dates,
Oh,
the
yeah,
budget
the
schedule.
budget
Oh,
schedule.
this one?
Yes.
It was
I can email
it was emailed to us.
I'll read the.
Could you, we need to forward it over to Casey. So what I did was, we typically are not following 16 meetings at this point, so I only put in for scheduled meetings. I dialed it back for 15 scheduled meetings. I dialed it back a bit. But then there are other times that she's doing work for us that we need to pay her, so. And then the supplies, it's almost flat, and the notices, the town report, you think the costs are gonna go up on that? No, so, and then I did increase the auditors by a little bit in case we have to do the state single audits for the expended grant monies over certain dollar amounts. And if not, then we can always dial that back. It's not gonna save the bottom line. but-
Right, and with a new auditor, you'd expect maybe a little more.
I'm sorry,
I
just
said with a new auditor, usually the transition or whatever.
the deal that she said that she would be flat unless she had to do the single audit, so. That's where we are. So if you're comfortable with it, I mean, I'll have Barbara fill in the rest of it, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna make a motion to accept it and give it to her. So. Budget from us. Oh, I'm sorry. Thanks for keeping me straight. So we have. Sorry, you seconded, all in favor? Sorry, question of the line here. All right, let's see. The annual report, do you want to talk at all about it while we're here?
It is
You
done.
sent it to all of us, yes, congratulations.
It's fun. Jean, can you?
But it's not done because it needs the schedules from me that I can't get from me until the audit's done.
Oh, okay, so it's close.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So it's almost done. There it is.
So This is a tool that I found a few years ago, and I thought I would try everyone's minds and see what they think. So it's a free tool. There's also a paid subscription that gives you some more features and benefits. But we could put this link on the website, and when people open it, they would open it like this. And instead of that scroll through PDF, right? It's called Issue. It's just a little bit nicer to.
Looks good, Bonnie.
Yeah, they do
Looks
like
really good.
personal magazines, that's basically, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's fine. Yeah, I have that with other publications. I receive.
And another cool thing that it does is that, as you're flowing through, when I flip the page, look at the, table of contents, and you'll see that where it highlighted blue, that tells you that there's a hyperlink there. So I helped Bonnie, and we, created hyperlinks so that you can move around the document a little bit more seamlessly and a little less clunky.
Yeah.
So if I wanted to go to the Housatonic River Commission's report, I just click that and it will navigate to.
Smile when you
It should.
Yeah.
The PDF will navigate, so we'll work that out, but it won't, it navigates to that page. We also went through and I helped her create hyperlinks, so you'll see anything, anywhere there was a web page, like here, it does that little highlight, so it sort of does call out people, so they know, oh, this is something you're gonna click on and go out to the towards the web page to give them a little, shout out, just trying to move to more digitization.
21st century.
Right.
We've come a long way. It looks great, Bonnie. I think it really does. Well done.
And that's a link that, we would put in the newsletter and, social media.
Well, we have printed copies for those who would like a copy. We usually. Good. Okay, so we got our notice status. Yeah, we just got this draft back tonight. Do we want to sit here and read through it, or do we want to give you the chance to take it home, look at it, bring it to the next meeting?
Yeah. Just.
Okay. Would somebody like to make that motion?
I will make the motion to table this to the next meeting.
All right.
I would second that.
Could I just get a little bit of background on it? I mean, is this brand new, or is this replacing an existing policy?
It's not replacing, but Barbara, I think that since you've been working for so many years, you might want to speak to it.
Well, it's just a guideline for everybody that the Board of Finance is going to put out regarding capital activity. It's governed by state statute, so this is just a little bit of inflation on the state statute. There's a little bit of local guideline.
We were having situations where organizations were having capital funds set aside for them, and then they weren't being used. And after a certain period of time, that's not right for the taxpayers. So that was kind of the initial kernel that got it going in 2012, 2013, when you first drafted it. And then it went on the shelf for a while. We brought it back.
Thank you.
Are there any comments?
We need-
Well, then you gotta vote. I keep doing that.
So I motion, I think Jason second.
Right, so all in favor? Any? Okay. So are there any comments from the public?
I have a question about this document. Is this going to be considered a policy? Or are we going to call it a guideline? Because it's been in existence, but it's never really been official.
Right, so it hasn't been adopted.
No.
Right.
No.
So it hasn't been official. So this would be, if you guys did adopt it, then it would be a policy or a guideline? It's a little bit of both.
Policy, yeah, and I think only for selected.
I mean, the state statute is the real policy, that's
The Board of Selectmen sets the policies for the town. So
Right.
this would be more of a Board of Finance guideline. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
By statute, it's the Board of Finance that oversees the capital.
Right.
So.
Right. So we might as well let people know the rules are ahead of time. So there is a draft, so please be aware that it's not approved yet. Anything else from the public? Okay. So I'd like to make a motion to adjourn. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.